Hello once again, and today is the 21st of December 2011, almost Christmas Day, and we're here at the Lady of the Snows. It's a shrine near Belleville, Illinois, and Belleville is near St. Louis, and we have the opportunity to meet with another fantastic organist, both classical organist and theater organist, named Scott Foppiano. And how are you doing today, Scott?
Very fine, Jack. I hope you are as well.
Well, we are, and it's a little cool outside here in the St. Louis area, but we'll get over it. And I've got a little cold, so I probably sound a little different. Well, hope we can get some good information from you today. How did you first get started in music?
When I was a young child, probably in my kindergarten or first grade years, I noticed the organ in church. And the story goes that, and I probably shouldn't tell this if my parish priests are listening, I would sit on the kneeler during the sermon and stare up at the pipes in the back in front of the big window rather than paying attention to what I should have been paying attention to during the Mass. But I knew that that's where the music came from, and when I got old enough, Mom and Dad would let me walk upstairs after Mass and watch Mrs. Cooper play the organ. And I always wanted to sit down and try it, so finally I got my chance. And my mother, having been a church organist for so many years, would pull the stops for me because I did not know what all those wonderful controls and dials and buttons and knobs were. And eventually, around the second or third grade, I began piano lessons with Mrs. Evelyn Mashmeyer of the Memphis Beethoven Club. Soon thereafter, as I developed my piano skills, I kept an eye on the organ. Always wanted to learn how to play, so I began very entry-level organ lessons with Miss Judy Casey at the Collierville United Methodist Church. When I got into high school, she said, "You're beyond this, you need to go to Dr. John Hooker, downtown Memphis Calvary Episcopal Church," and I started studying with him, and from there the formal training just continued.
So, continued for how long? Or it's always continuing.
Exactly. I tell people we can always learn something till the day we go to our grave. I went on to college, undergrad, and on a full scholarship to the North Carolina School of the Arts, but also began studying theater organ with Tom Hazelton after I had discovered the Wurlitzer in the Orpheum Theater in Memphis. We went to a Messiah performance, and they used the Wurlitzer. It was Dr. David Ramsey from Rhodes College, then called Southwestern at Memphis, used the Wurlitzer merely as continuo, 8 and 4 foot flutes, light stops. After the performance of the Messiah, my father and I were walking out of the theater, going up the aisle to exit towards the lobby, and I heard this wonderful sound. And I had never, it was the first time I ever saw a movie palace, and this is a rap and rap theater from 1928. Opulent draperies, wallpaper, crystal chandeliers. Heard this wonderful sound just filling the room, and I turned around, and there, rising up out of the pit, was this white and gold Wurlitzer console, Christmas carols just roaring through the room, being played by a gentleman named Vincent Astor, who is a fixture around Memphis and well known at the Orpheum. When I saw and heard that, I said, I have to do this. So we went and talked to him afterwards. My parents brought me down the next day, and they turned me loose in the theater for several hours. And for the first time, I heard the wonders of the mighty Wurlitzer Theater pipe organ. And ever since that day in junior high, I have been in love with the music of the theater organ.
So when did you first publicly play the classic organ, the church organ?
I began playing the masses, excuse me for cutting off the question, I thought you were done there. I began playing the organ, the classical organ, for the daily masses of the school, the parish school. We had masses Monday through Friday, and then of course the weekend masses, and they let me start playing when I attained a level of competency. They let me start playing the liturgical organ during the week for the school masses, probably in the 5th or 6th grade, when I could play the hymns well enough. And then as I progressed in my private lessons, I started playing repertoire. The church playing led to recitals, local recitals, AGO functions. I was in the Yamaha Electone competition, 1981, 2, 3, and 4, I believe it was. And then the theater organ, I did not start playing publicly until my high school years at the Orpheum in Memphis. And then after college, when I moved to Detroit and joined Motor City Theater Organ Society and met Dorothy Van Steenkist and the folks at the Redford, then I began playing movie overtures and intermissions there and did my first formal theater organ concert the following year in 1991 at the Redford Theater.
Well, you were recognized in 2007, I believe, as the ATOS Organist of the Year. Was that an exciting experience for you?
That was an exciting experience, and it was one heck of an honor. I am very proud of that. And what made that event even more special was that was the year the convention was in New York City. So the concert that I was asked to play was at the Cadet Chapel at West Point. I believe the organ's something like 295 ranks, or it's a monster. It's one of the largest church organs in the world. So that concert, plus the international audience, plus being at Times Square, plus the award, made for a really spectacular weekend. And what a lot of people don't know was that following Sunday, after the convention had wound down, I had been invited to do a recital at St. Patrick's over on Fifth Avenue, St. Patrick's Cathedral. So that was one of the most memorable weeks of my life, and the award basically culminated the whole thing.
Well, and you deserve it.
Thank you.
Let's break down the classical versus the theater organ a little bit, and notwithstanding St. Patrick's and West Point, because you just said those were exciting, and I would assume maybe the most exciting thing you've ever done. Or is there something more exciting? In other words, what I'm after is what is the most exciting program that you've ever done in terms of the venue, the organ, the audience, public thing, of course, excluding those two, unless those two are the most memorable.
Oh, wow. There have been many.
Now, this is the classical side.
Classical side. Probably, well, it's hard to classify, Jack, because there have been so many really wonderful experiences. But probably one of the culminations, I would have to say, would be in February of 2001, when I took my choir from the National Shrine of the Little Flower in Royal Oak, Michigan to Italy. And we sang all over Italy, but that Sunday we sang the Latin Solemn Mass in St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. And my assistant and I played the organ, and I directed the choir for the Mass. And then 3 days later, that following Wednesday, we sang at the papal audience and were presented to His Holiness Pope John Paul II. That would be a very big event in my life. But every concert, whether it be classical or theater organ, I approach as a one-time thing, and it's always a new audience. So you want to give your best, and you want to present the instrument at its very best. Especially considering you might have people who have never heard either the theater pipe organ or the classical organ before, and you want to get them engaged and interested, and hopefully come back and hear more.
Good. How about, let's switch to the theater now. Is there any great memorable event in your life as far as the theater organ is concerned?
Every ATOS convention that I have been honored with an invitation to play is definitely a high point in my professional music career. I must say that 3 years ago, out at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara, I was invited to play for the 20th anniversary of the installation of the great Robert Morton Wonder organ, which was originally at Lowe's Jersey Theater in Jersey City. My mentor and friend, the late Tom Hazelton, had opened that organ, had helped design and open that organ in 1988, and of course Tom, having passed away in 2006, was not around to play it, so they called me to do it, and the theater was packed full. The mayor of Santa Barbara, some other dignitaries from the California state government had been invited. There was a huge champagne reception out on the veranda outside afterwards. That was a biggie, because how often do you get to celebrate the anniversary of a theater organ? And if you think about that, seriously, you don't see that type of event often, but that was a shining moment. And also, back in my Detroit days as house organist of the Detroit Fox, when we closed Gone with the Wind, and I believe it was 1994 for the summer movie series, and like your Fox here in St. Louis has the 4-manual 36 rank Wurlitzer, and a 5,000 seat auditorium, which was packed, to the ceiling. And, to play Tara's theme as the console descended into the pit, and the people were just on their feet just screaming for more. If you present the organ in a light where it's enjoyable and you really get the people excited, there's no reason the theater organ can't live on forever and continue to provide music for happy people to listen to it.
Well, let's take the other side of this now. And the theater, let's stay with the theater organ for the moment.
All right.
Because you've done all these exciting things. What is the one event that you hope would never occur again? It was challenging. You can name the place if you want, but the circumstances were such that you dread even thinking about it, and you hope you'd never have to go through it again.
There is a venue I would rather not mention that I played a concert at many years ago, theater organ. In fact, I don't believe the instrument is even online anymore, at least at the present time. That I'll just say I would, if I were called to play there, I would gracefully decline and probably have to say, well, I can't make it that weekend, or thank you, maybe in another time, or something like that. Sometimes, unfortunately, the instruments are not up to par concert-wise, and they might be what's called, a hobbyist project. And it's even worse when it's in a public venue and they expect you to come and make music, and the instrument is clearly not capable of such. I hope that's a satisfactory answer for your question. There's one place I really would rather not go play again.
Well, do you want to at least say East, West, or Midwest?
Oh boy. East of the Mississippi, south of Canada, and north of Mexico.
Oh, that narrows it down.
Trying to be diplomatic here, Jack.
Okay. Let's stay with the theater organ, because that's what this is mainly about. What place would you like to play? An ultimate goal, saying that you haven't played, and some sort of event that you'd like to do that you look upon as a challenge to be able to be asked or somehow get there, and when you got there you could say, I've satisfied a great dream, if you will.
I can answer that very easily. That would be Berkeley Community Theater for the NorCal chapter, which is a chapter I have never been invited to play for and would really like to have that honor and invitation. I played the organ on a Saturday when Kevin King and Jim Riggs and some others took me around to see some organs that day. And this was even before they got the Center Theater console from the Rockefeller Complex and Radio City Complex in Manhattan. That is one I've never played, and I would absolutely love to do one time and perform for them. It's a wonderful organ and wonderful people, and I love the Bay Area. And having heard the organ, which has the diaphones from the United Artists Theater in Detroit, I'd like to be able to put that on the list and say I've played there. I've been very fortunate to have been invited to play most of the other major venues, theater organ venues in the country, and it's been a lot of fun, and you make some good friends, some lifelong friends, and you get to make some good music and have a lot of fun at the same time. But it would have to be for the NorCal chapter. I know the Castro, my friend David Hegarty plays at the Castro, is another organ I got to play when I was out there. I'd have to say a concert at either Berkeley or the Castro for NorCal.
Well, good. We don't know exactly who the audience is going to be for these videos. It seems to be getting larger and larger as we post them on YouTube, but we're trying to attract young people. We're trying to attract old people. We're trying to attract people to do several things. One is to possibly even play them. One is to maintain them. And the other is to just come listen to them. How would you attract any of those groups?
To an organ concert?
Well, to a concert, or be involved in learning how to play?
Well, the first ingredient on that list, in my opinion, would be someone going to a theater organ concert, or even classical for that matter, but we're talking theater organ at this point, and presenting music that not so much falls into, what I would call a category, an encapsulated interest level for just a handful of people. You have to play to a wide variety of an audience. Now, there are some today who are on this kick of you've got to play for the young people. You've got to play for the young people. All modern music. Nobody wants to hear the Great American Songbook anymore. I disagree. I think you have to have a balance between the Great American Songbook, Gershwin, Berlin, things like that, Cole Porter. If you have to play some modern tunes, and by that I'm thinking like some of my colleagues play the Beatles, they play some things from the 70s, 80s, 90s, some play the Bohemian Rhapsody. I think you can include well-played and well-rehearsed a classical piece or two in the program. I myself love the transcriptions, the Lemaire transcriptions, the orchestral transcriptions, and something that reaches out to everybody. You can't just play all music from 1917 to 1929, or for example, you can't just play anything after 1965. You have to reach out to everyone, because if you look at the audience, you have the smallest young people up through the older folks, the veteran audience listeners, I will call them. So you have to reach out to everyone, and if you try to run the gamut of all the different styles, chances are you're going to hit something that everybody will like at some point.
Good. How about what if there's some aspiring youngster that hears one of these things that says, like you did, you got on the kneeling rack or whatever way back, and wants to learn? What would your advice be as to what to do here?
My advice would be, depending on how old the child or the young person might be.
8 years old.
8 years old. Well, you'd have to have your parental backing there, of course, to approach the hierarchy. If it were a church organ, hopefully the clergy and the organist would not slam and lock the choir loft door or the roll top on the console, as is too common. If it's a theater organ, and this goes back to one of your previous questions, too many chapters and too many individuals, sadly, have a reputation of my organ, my organ, my organ, my organ, you can't touch it, you can't get near it, my organ, it's perfect, and this is the way it's going to be. You have to open the doors, you have to let people on the bench, you have to let people in the chambers with supervision of the maintenance people and the qualified technicians who know how to work and supervise. But part of the problem in people's interest going towards these instruments is that they are turned away either from politics or personalities, and I'm going to be very blunt about that. And it's a permeating problem in recent years, it seems. Politics can ruin any type of situation. Rather than welcoming and opening the door to someone, it's easier to say, well, let's just keep it as it is. Well, you're not going to gain interest, and the word is not going to get out. They're welcoming people. They want new talent. They want new faces. They want new members. They want new workers. This goes not just for people wanting to play the instrument and learn the music of the instrument, but working on them, taking tickets at the door, ushers, the receptions. You have to welcome people and make them truly feel welcome and wanted. And in the case of a young person wanting to learn how to play, to find a teacher who is good at teaching and lighting that spark, that musical spark, and also the listening spark, to not just follow one type of style or one type of player. Like with my students, I loan them recordings of 10 or 15 different organists and say, listen to the styles, listen to the same song played by all these different people, the stops, the registrations, the dynamics, the expression, the approach, and you'll hear something different in every one. From that, you hone your own style, and you don't want to copy or sound exactly like anyone else, because you want your own individual style to come through.
Oh, very good. We've got to bring this to a close, I think. You've given us a lot of valuable information. I think I forgot at the beginning to say you were from Kansas City.
Yes.
Is that Kansas City, Kansas, or Missouri?
Missouri. They're right across the river from each other.
I know. It depends on which side you want to pay taxes in, I guess.
That's true.
Anyway, it's December 21st, just a few days from Christmas, here at the Lady of the Snows, which is in Belleville, Illinois, near St. Louis. And you got any further final message you want to leave with our viewers?
Yes, whether you are an organist or a tuner or a general technician or an audience member, the music should make you happy, it should make you engaged, it should make you want to come back for more. And if all these things are kept in mind, and we remember that the theater organ as we know it, evolved for entertainment. As they accompanied the silent films, they evolved from tubby old transplanted church organs into the glorious instruments we know today. There's no reason it can't live on forever. The only thing that's going to make it cease its glorious voice, as I said before, are personalities and politics, and I hope and pray that never happens. We have to keep the music of the theater pipe organ roaring on for generations to come.
Well, we thank you, Scott Foppiano, and
Thank you, Jack.
for inspiring terms, and Jack Moelmann saying goodbye.